We can now speak to Khuselwa Dyantyi, who's a candidate attorney with the Socio-economic Rights Institute. And we're speaking to you, Khuselwa, because your organization has been working with the families of slain mine workers. Their grievances have not been covered in this briefing today, have they?
That is correct, Sembegile. We are representing the 36 of the 37 mine workers who were killed by the police. So in this morning's press conference by the Solicitor General, they did not cover our cases, and we know that we still do have pending cases because we only finalized the cases of the loss of support. So there are general damages that were supposed to be compensated by the state to our clients, and we know that there hasn't been any communication from the state office. Since I remember the last time we had the conversation with the state attorney's office was late last year when, for instance, we do have 2 families that were not compensated in terms of the loss of support. So we're trying to finalize those 2 matters, and then we also want to finalize the matters of general damages. So the state in these matters, including the 2 families that did not receive the loss of support, we haven't received any tangible information coming from the state. Well, so what we had this morning, we were hoping that they would also invite us and give us some information pertaining our cases as well. I
want to go back to a quote from the Solicitor General around this time last year, because he said at the time that about 70 million rand had been paid on behalf of these 35 families of slain mine workers. But he said there's been a complication, and I'm paraphrasing, because then you, the Socio-economic Rights Institute, came back with a damage claim, which is something that's not easy to quantify. He then said, but we as the state needed to approach these matters with some degree of humility. Has there been that humility to date?
The offers that we received from the damages claims, it was from 2018, whereby the state offered 500,000 rand per family. That covers all the claims. And if you can remember that there are families that are more than 21 that must be included in that 500,000. So the families could not accept that offer. And then they went back to request a better offer from the state. And, after that press conference of August last year, we were hoping that they would at least consider the families' offers, that they made a counter offer to say that, we're trying to deal with these matters with humility, which we did not see up until to date. To this date, the only payment that we received from SERI was the payment of 2018 and nothing further.
And you had, at the point, said that the 500,000 rand for each deceased mine worker's family, this is 500,000 rand, was not enough. Explain then to people who've not been tracking the story why you felt that amount was insufficient as far as compensation goes.
Okay, let me just take you a little bit back. When we received the loss of support claim, so there are families who received a minimum of 125,000 rand per family, up to almost 4 million rand per family. So if you think that now these general damages are the final claims from these reparations from the Marikana claims. So now if you come as a state to offer the 500,000 rand from the family that received 125,000 rand, including everyone in that family, that means the total amount for that family is only 625 rand. And yes, if for instance, there are 2 family members in one of the families, and then you receive that 500,000 rand. I think that kind of offer will be acceptable for those 2 people. But we have, for instance, a family of 21, as far as I know. So when you divide this 500,000, it is even less than 20,000 rand per family. So that means those people who did not even receive any compensation during the payout of loss of support will likely to receive less than 20,000 rand for everything that they've claimed in these Marikana claims, which is something that we cannot accept, as their legal representatives, and the instructions that we received from the families. So now, what we propose is that at least they must categorize them as probably each widow must receive.
Khuselwa Dyantyi, are you still with us? I suspect we've lost Khuselwa Dyantyi. I'm going to keep this going for a while longer and see if we can get her back on the line. We're speaking to her about the families of 36 mine workers who were among those who died during the protests at the LONMIN platinum mine in 2012. Now the process is to do with compensation. Government seemingly forging ahead with compensation in a clear-cut manner for the injuries claims. That caseload now being addressed, but as Khuselwa was telling us, concern now is about the loved ones of the mine workers who died 10 years ago. Khuselwa, I'm told we have you back, and I wanted to ask you what the plan is now. Are you simply going to sit and wait it out when you consider especially that it's been 10 years since the massacre?
I mean, a lot has been happening the past 10 years. If you remember, when we started this case, we focused on covering the truth, what happened in August 2012. And then once we had that information, we also tried to bring that truth back to the families, back to the victims where they come from. So we kind of like host some public outreach to the villages where they come from. So this year we are focusing on healing and finding closure. And those, those 2 points, you cannot find healing when you, from the beginning, you did not even receive any, tangible compensation from the state. And for instance, something that you cannot even put money on it is the claim the families they put to say that they want an apology from the state. It doesn't matter where it comes from, but it must come from the state. So that alone, if someone from the state comes to the families and make that apology, it means something. That's when you can start the healing process. That's when you can say that, we want to find closure, and then the process can be something that we include the state and all the victims of the Marikana massacre. Not only our clients, the 6 families that we're representing, but we are trying to include all 44 people who lost their lives during the 2012 massacre.
There's been another court case this year that was basically trying to get culpability, legally trying to get some form of responsibility from the president of the country. The High Court in July said that, Cyril Ramaphosa, who had links to LONMIN at the time, it had not been proven that he'd basically incited those murders, so that case then went away. Do you think that he should still be held accountable in some way when you consider that the High Court has said that it's not been proven that he incited the murders or the massacre itself? And you've also got a report from the Farlam Commission of Inquiry, which also did not link him to what happened.
On our side, we were also guided by the Farlam's report. So the instructions that we received from our clients was first to sue the state. And this case that has come, they instituted these proceedings in 2015, the injured and arrested mine workers and all other victims in 2015. And the families, because they did not give us those instructions, but at the same time, they showed solidarity to the mine workers. They've been supporting them. We've been following the case, and we also do believe that. Our president now, back then he was the non-executive director for the company. So we do believe that somehow he did put some pressure, and then what happened in August 2012. He was also part of the people who exerted that pressure to end up seeing those mine workers being killed. And for that, the families, they've been supporting their case. And the judgment came out sometime early July, and with some sort of a piece of consolation that somehow the president must answer in these cases.
But the difficulty then was that, though, what you ultimately wanted was to link him to what happened, and the court said that it had not been proven that he incited the massacre.
Unfortunately, yes, that was the outcome of that judgment.
Khuselwa Dyantyi.
Possession is the main part that we are struggling to prove.
Yes. Khuselwa Dyantyi, good to speak to you. Thank you so much with the Socio-economic Rights Institute. Thank you for speaking to us. Let's